Hey folks, welcome to another video from the Dice Tower. Now this is not your typical top 10 list that I've done in the past. What I'm going to be doing today is talking a little bit about some games coming out at the Spiel fair at Essen in Germany. Now this fair happens every year, usually in October, and it is certainly one of the biggest board game conventions in the world. Over 140,000 people show up. There is probably 500 new games being released at the fair, more than any other fair in the world ever. This is just a huge event, and many publishers are there. So what I'm going to be doing in this episode is just talk about 10 games that really interest me. Now this is only 10. This is my top 10, but this is so all over the place in a sense because when I get these 10 games that I'm interested in, the number one game could be really boring and dull. There could be 30 other games that are better than any of these 10. There's probably at least 50 games that I'm really interested in, and I pared it down to 10 for purposes of this video. And I'm not even including some games that I really like but already had a chance to play, like Patronize and String Safari and Legacy. And you're going to be seeing reviews of these, the expansion for Suburbia Incorporated. So I'll be reviewing those. So those are on my list. These are games that I have not played but look very fascinating to me for one reason or another. Are you ready? Let's see.
Number 10.
Number 10 is Templar Secret Treasures. This is designed by Jesus Torres Castro. It is produced by Queen Games. This game looks really interesting. They have a video that shows how to play the game with a very freaky, robotic sounding voice. But when I looked over how to game, and one of the things that fascinates me about this is you have these character cards, and you play a character card, and that character card will let you do things. One of the character card lets you pull back the other ones. You're moving your piece around in this castle, and you're hiding treasures. And so you're moving around, and there's different pieces moving around. It looks like a very family level game, which is one of the types of games that I'm always very interested in seeing. The pieces look cool. The idea looks cool, especially having the different character cards and playing those. That's always a mechanic I like, and I think it's actually not used enough in games. So number 10 for me is Templar Secret Treasures.
Number 9.
Number 9 is Tashkalar, the Arena of Legends. Now, this is designed by the very popular Vasel, who's designed many games that people really enjoy, from Dungeon Lords to Through the Ages to Galaxy Trucker, etc. This one is being produced by his own company, is being brought to America by Z-Man Games. This game is a game in which 2 to 4 players are different summoners, and they're summoning creatures. There's 3 different factions in the game. There's different decks of creatures, a deck of legendary creatures. Now, this is not a unusual theme. We've seen games like Summoner Wars and Mage Wars before, but in this game, you're placing out these common pieces on the board. Everyone's placing them out, and depending on the pattern, you're trying to get different patterns on the board of these pieces so that you can play cards which allow you to summon creatures. I do enjoy that there's 2 modes of play in this game. There is the standard mode, when you do that, and then I like there's the melee mode, in which you're supposed to destroy your enemies and according to the script and make them beg for mercy. Any game that makes you make your opponents beg. I think though this is like a catch-up mechanic. They have to play cards that let them catch up, but that's by them begging. It has really good looking art. I enjoy the theme a lot. This almost looks like a Summoner War style game with a Euro heavy thing, but who knows? Almost anything he designs, it turns into gold, so this is an exciting one. Tashkalar.
Number 8.
Number 8 is a game that I don't know as much about. It's from the Lamont brothers from Fragor Games, and that's Mush Mush, Snowtails 2. Now, every year these guys bring to Essen a brand new game, and it's always about animals somehow. And several years ago, they brought Snowtails, which was a dog sled racing game. This one is supposed to be along the same lines, but this time, no brakes is what they say. They say it's less mathematical. I didn't think Snowtails was that mathematical, but you use different numbered cards to turn the sled in different directions. It's going to come with a huge board, polyresin pieces, buildings. They like to stick polyresin pieces in their games, and they do make their games certainly stand out on the table. And it can go up to 8 people. So this sounds interesting. They've done some very spectacular games. I've enjoyed all the racing games so far, so I think this one will be a good one to look out for. And besides, it's fun to say the name, Mush Mush.
Number 7.
Number 7 is an unusual game from Repos Productions, although when I say an unusual game from Repos Productions, that doesn't really mean anything because almost every game they release is unusual. They were the ones who brought Cash and Guns, if you remember. But this game is called Concept. Now, what Concept is it's basically a board game version almost of 20 questions. I'm trying to get you to think of something. Maybe I'm trying to get you to think of a famous person, maybe Marco Polo, and how am I going to get you to think of him? Well, you're putting pieces on this board, and this board is covered with tons of icons and tons of different categories. And so by putting these there, you have to say, okay, you put it next to a human being, so this is a person. You put it next to a map, and that means explore. And then you indicate it China, someone who explored China. And that's the way the game looks. I mean, it looks pretty cool. Now, it also has a possibility of maybe not being as interesting, but I tend to like 20 questions as a whole. And I think that taking it to this, where you try to use different icons on a very big board to get the other person to guess, sounds like a pretty cool idea. So that is Concept.
Number 6.
From Hobby World, we have a tank battle game. Now, tank battles isn't something new. There's a lot of companies that have made games where tanks battle it out. But this one uses the deck building strategy to do so. Now, deck building has been overused in the past, but this one really attracts me for a couple reasons. One, because I think tank battles are cool, and the idea of mixing it with deck building sounds pretty neat. Two, the card layout is sharp and clear, really good artwork, and the idea of collecting these, there's achievements that they have at the end of the game, whoever gets the most of those, and so you're kind of doing this combat and deck building at the same time. Now, this has obviously the opportunity to be a flop, because not all deck builders are good, but this is one that I'm really pumped about, if only because of the sheer graphic design that's in it. So that is World of Tanks Rush.
Number 5.
Number 5 is Desktopia. Now, Desktopia is another game from Hobby World, but this one excites me because I've always been a fan of disc flicking games, whether it's a racing game like Pitch Car or a dungeon crawl or just a kind of combat game. This one is army combat, where my army against your army, and we have piles of discs in it. There are 64 discs included. Looks like you're going to have to sticker them, but I love this here. They have different factions. There's the Order of Fire, makes sense, and then there's the Order of Grass, and the Order of Dust, and the Order of Metal. But each turn, each player will get 3 actions, and they'll be able to attack with their discs or shoot ranged attack from their discs. This is another game where it comes with different cards, and the artwork looks phenomenal. That's something that's always attracting to me, but I love the idea of taking dexterity and putting it into a battle element. So that is Desktopia.
Number 4.
Now, Scott Nicholson just posted the video of how to play this game today, Going, Going, Gone, which was produced by Stronghold Games. Going, Going, Gone is an auction game, and Scott had several of the same problems I had with auctions, which is they take a long time. You sit there and you figure out 17, 18, 19, 20. In this one, you all basically bid simultaneously. There are cups in the middle of the table, and you're throwing cubes into those cups, trying to win different sets, different items. Normally, I would not be a fan of saying you need to collect 6 of the same item or 6 of the same set. But in this game, you're doing so by this really cool auction thing. There's even, you can play dexterity where you have to throw the cubes in the cups. But just the basic game itself, where you're watching everybody else, but just like 10 seconds, one person is counting down from 10, and you're putting all these cubes in as fast as you can, watching everybody else at the same time, but, you know, trying to win stuff. So it seems really cool. It seems like an excellent way to use cubes. I should be getting a copy of this soon for full review, but right now, easily on my list, Going, Going, Gone.
Number 3.
Number 3 on my list is one that's probably on many people's list, and that's Caverna Cave Farmers. Why is this a big deal for many people? Because this is the sequel to Agricola. I mean, the company itself, Lookout Games, is saying that. Uwe Rosenberg designed Agricola, very popular game about farming. This one seems very similar, although there's quite a bit of differences. I went and looked through the rule book. You're in a cave, farming in a cave, but you're also doing a lot of mining. In fact, I like the fact that this game comes with little dog pieces, sheep pieces, donkey pieces, boar, cattle, wood, stone, ore, ruby, grain, veggies. And unlike Agricola, which initially came with a bunch of kind of faceless pieces, this one here has all different cool shaped pieces. And it goes up to 7 players. 7 players. That's kind of mind-boggling, although it does say 30 minutes per player, so you might not want to play with 7 players. But it looks spectacular. Uwe has done great things. He's designing another game that a lot of people are pumped about, Glass Road, which I'm sure is very interesting, but this is the one that really caught my eye, and I'm very excited to check it out. Caverna Cave Farmers.
Number 2.
My number 2 game has been out in Poland, I think at least since the beginning of this year, from a company called Axel, but is being released in English at the fair, so one I certainly want to check out, and that's Might and Magic Heroes. Now, one of the computer games that I very much enjoyed back when I was in college was Heroes of Might and Magic, maybe Heroes of Might and Magic 2, maybe even Heroes of Might and Magic 3. I think they're very far beyond that at this point in time, but I liked it because each person was a magician, went around, raised armies, you got other magicians and sorcerers and things to work, and they went around and raised armies, and there was this tactical combat between creatures as you went around. So, haven't found out too much information. I read a couple reviews that were done of the early version. It sounds cool. It sounds like a fantasy tactical game, with some large-scale combat and some interesting, powers and things, and that sounds really cool to me. The artwork looks good. I wish I could say more about it. This one, I'm almost kind of on it solely for the theme. I hope it works out, and if it does, that would be really neat. Might and Magic Heroes. And finally, number 1, Kings and Assassins. Now, Kings and Assassins is a game that, or King and Assassins. The theme is what really gets me into this one. This one, I think, is from another Polish company, Galactica, designed by Lukasz Wozniak. And essentially, one player, it's an asymmetrical 2-player game. One person is the king and his guards, and they're trying to get back to the castle. Unruly, unhappy with the king mob. They're all like reaching and grabbing and fighting. So the guards have to break through this crowd to get the king back to the castle. The other player is playing the mob, including 3 assassins who are trying to take the king out. And so each player has different actions, and the king is trying to battle his way through to that castle door and get in there safely. The assassin is trying to take him out on the way in. This is a really cool sounding theme. I'm really pumped about this one, looking forward to trying that out. And so that's King and Assassins. Now, I'm sure that many of you at this point in time are saying, but what about, no, you missed that. Some of you are publishers saying, I thought you would talk about my game. Well, yes, I will do my best to talk about all these games as they come in. Like I said, these are just 10 that really caught my eye. These, when I talk later on, maybe at the end of the year, about the top 10 games of the year, it's possible that none of these games will even show up on that list. So who knows? But I have high hopes for all these games, and it'll be really cool. But the fact is, folks, there is a ton of games releasing at Essen. Now, one game that's releasing at Essen that's really cool, and I've already talked about it for a while, is Trains and Stations. This is being released at Essen, being sold there jointly by WizKids and Asmodee. And Trains and Station is a really good game. Obviously, it is, because I've kept it on my shelf. It's one that I like quite a bit. A medium-weight train game, but it uses dice, and it's a really cool concept. You can watch my review for full details. But Asmodee and WizKids have said that if you go up and buy it at the Essen Fair, so if you're going there and you get it there and you say, heard about it at Dice Tower, they're going to give $2 to the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund, which is a charity organization. You can find more about it at jackvasel.org to help gamers in their time of need. And that's really cool, and I really appreciate them doing that. So if you're going to get Trains and Stations, and you should, swing by either one of their booths, Asmodee or WizKids, pick it up and just tell them that you heard about it at the Dice Tower, and that will help out the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund. Folks, I hope this was helpful to you. Obviously, it would have been cool if we could have done like an Essen preview that was 20 videos long and went over every single game, but I can give you the next best thing. What we'll do is, when these games come back to us, as some of them I'm playing right now and trying them out and reviewing them, and over the next month, I'll probably try out a good chunk of the rest. So we'll try to tell you what's the best and what's the dross from Essen. I don't know at this point in time. This video was all about me guessing. Making educated guesses, perhaps, but sometimes the game looks good and it's really not. Anyhow, lots more stuff to come your way. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
To find out more about all of our podcasts, check out Dicetowernetwork.com. To see a listing of our videos, head to Dicetower.com. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Cool Stuff Incorporated, where you can buy games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock.